They pushed him against the wall. They laughed at him in the chow hall. They called him the weakest man in the entire platoon. But when his shirt came off that day in the locker room, everyone froze. The scars on his back told a story that would silence an entire barracks. A story of fire, of courage, of a boy who became a legend. This is a true story, and it starts with the worst day of James Mitchell's life. Fort Benning, Georgia. Summer of 2003. The temperature hit 98 degrees that July morning when a bus full of new recruits pulled up to the gates of basic training. 32 young men stepped off that bus. Most of them were confident, excited, ready to prove themselves. And then there was Private James Mitchell, 19 years old, 5'9", 140 pounds soaking wet. While the other recruits were flexing, joking around, sizing each other up, James stood in the back, quiet, head down, hands in his pockets. The drill sergeants noticed him immediately. Sergeant First Class Williams was the first to call him out. "Mitchell, you look like a strong breeze would knock you over. Is that what we got here? A human toothpick?" The other recruits laughed. James said nothing, just nodded. "I asked you a question, Private." "No, Sergeant." His voice was barely above a whisper. Williams stepped closer, got right in his face. "I can't hear you, son. You scared?" "No, Sergeant." "You sure about that? Because you look scared to me." James looked down. "Eyes on me when I'm talking to you?" "Yes, Sergeant." Williams shook his head, turned to the other drill sergeants. "We got a lot of work to do with this one." The first week was brutal for everyone. 5 a.m. wake-ups, push-ups until your arms gave out, running until you threw up. But for James, it was worse. While the other recruits knocked out 50 push-ups, James struggled to do 20. While they ran the obstacle course in under 10 minutes, James finished dead last at 15. During hand-to-hand combat training, he was paired with a guy named Davis, Corporal Marcus Davis, 6'2", 220 pounds, built like a tank. Davis threw James to the ground like he weighed nothing. "Come on, Mitchell. My little sister hits harder than you." The other recruits laughed. James got up, tried again, got thrown down again. "This is embarrassing, man. You sure you're in the right place?" James dusted himself off, said nothing. By week 2, the bullying had a pattern. "Morning PT? Mitchell, you gonna cry? Maybe Mommy can come pick you up. Lunch in the chow hall? Yo, Mitchell, you eating that? You need to bulk up, man. Yeah, maybe if you ate more, you wouldn't be so pathetic. Evening drills? Mitchell, you're slowing us down. We're going to be running extra laps because of you." And James never said a word, never fought back, never defended himself. He just took it, day after day, week after week. The quieter he got, the worse it became. Because silence? In the military? That's blood in the water. Corporal Davis became his main tormentor. It started with small things. Hiding James's boots before inspection. Putting salt in his canteen instead of water. Tripping him during formation. But it escalated. One night, James was doing laundry in the barracks. Davis walked up behind him. "Hey, Mitchell, you know what everyone's saying about you?" James kept folding his clothes. Didn't look up. "They're saying you're going to wash out. That you don't belong here." Still no response. "I'm talking to you." Davis grabbed James's shoulder, spun him around. "You got nothing to say?" "Nothing?" James looked at him. Just looked at him. No anger. No fear. Just emptiness. Davis laughed. Pushed him back. "You're pathetic, man." Absolutely pathetic. Week 4. The platoon was doing ruck marches. 12 miles with a 40-pound pack in the Georgia heat. James was struggling, falling behind, sweating through his uniform. But there was something the other recruits started to notice. He never quit. No matter how far behind he fell, he finished. No matter how much pain he was in, he kept moving. Sergeant Williams noticed it too. After one particularly brutal march, he pulled James aside. "Mitchell, why are you here?" "To serve, Sergeant." "That's not what I asked. Why are you here? With your build, your fitness level, you could have done 100 other things. Why the Army?" James was quiet for a moment. "Because someone has to, Sergeant." Williams studied him. "You got something to prove, son?" "No, Sergeant. And what is it?" "I just want to finish what I start." Williams nodded slowly, walked away. But he didn't forget that conversation. Week 5. The platoon was learning how to handle stress under pressure. Sleep deprivation, constant yelling, surprise inspections at 2 a.m. Most guys cracked. Had breakdowns? Cried. But not James. He just existed. Moved through it like a ghost. One of the recruits, Private Chon, tried to talk to him one night. "Hey, man, you doing okay?" James was lying in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. "I'm fine. Listen, don't let Davis get to you. He's just a bully, you know." "I know. Then why don't you stand up to him? Fight back?" James turned to look at him. "Because that's what he wants." Chun didn't know what to say to that. "Plus," James continued, "I've dealt with worse." "Worse than Davis?" James turned back to the ceiling. "Yeah, a lot worse." But he didn't elaborate, and Chun didn't push. Week 6. The platoon had just finished the hardest week of training yet. The forge. 48 hours of non-stop drills, no sleep, constant movement. Everyone was exhausted, mentally drained, physically destroyed. They got back to the barracks and headed straight for the showers. This is where everything changed. The locker room was loud that afternoon. Guys laughing, joking, celebrating that the forge was over. James, like always, waited until everyone was done. Stood in the corner. But Corporal Davis had been watching him. Had been planning this. "Hey, Mitchell." James looked up. "Why you always hiding in the corner, man? What's your deal?" The other recruits stopped talking. Turned to watch. "I'm not hiding." "Yeah? Then prove it. Take off your shirt." James froze. "Come on. Everyone else is changing. What makes you so special?" "I'll change when everyone's done." "Nah, nah, nah. You'll change now. Unless you got something to hide." The room was getting quieter. Everyone was watching now. "I don't have anything to hide." "Then take off the shirt." James's jaw tightened. His hands were shaking slightly. "Take it off, Mitchell." "That's an order." James didn't move. So Davis moved for him. He walked over, grabbed the bottom of James's shirt, and ripped it over his head. What happened next will be burned into the memory of every single person in that room for the rest of their lives. Complete, absolute silence. James's back was covered in scars. Not small scars. Not the kind you get from falling off a bike or getting into a fight. These were burn scars. Massive, thick, twisted tissue that covered nearly 60% of his back. From his shoulder blades all the way down to his lower back. Some were raised and white. Others were deep red. Some looked like melted wax. It looked like someone had taken a blowtorch to his skin. Corporal Davis's mouth fell open. The shirt dropped from his hand. Someone in the back whispered, "Holy shit." Another recruit just stared. Couldn't look away. Private Chun felt his stomach turn. James stood there, shirtless, exposed. For 6 weeks, he'd hidden this. Wore long sleeves even in the Georgia heat. Changed in bathroom stalls. And now everyone knew why. The silence stretched on. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15. Finally, one of the younger recruits, a kid from Ohio named Parker, stepped forward. Mitchell ... What? What happened to you? James grabbed his shirt. Started putting it back on. It doesn't matter. Come on, man. You can't just... I said it doesn't matter. His voice cracked. For the first time since arriving at Fort Benning, there was emotion in his voice. Sergeant Williams had heard the commotion. Walked into the locker room. What's going on in here? Nobody spoke. Williams looked at James, at his back, at the scars. His expression changed. All the hardness, all the drill sergeant attitude, gone. Mitchell. My office. Now. James pulled his shirt on. Walked out without looking at anyone. The locker room stayed silent for a full minute after he left. Davis sat down on the bench. Put his head in his hands. Someone finally said what everyone was thinking. What the hell did we do? In Sergeant Williams's office, James sat in a chair, staring at his hands. Williams didn't yell, didn't bark orders, just sat across from him. How long have you been hiding that? A long time, Sergeant. Since you enlisted? Since I was 11. Williams leaned back in his chair. You want to tell me what happened? James was quiet for a long time. Then he started talking. House fire. November 12th, 2001. I was 11 years old. My little sister Emily was 7. His voice was flat, emotionless, like he was reading from a script. It started in the kitchen. Electrical fire. Spread fast. By the time we smelled smoke, the downstairs was already gone. My parents got out. Thought we were behind them. But Emily, she went back for her stuffed rabbit. Stupid little pink bunny she'd had since she was a baby. By the time I realized she wasn't with us, the stairs were on fire. Williams didn't interrupt. Just listened. The firefighters showed up. Said the second floor was too unstable. Said if anyone went up there, the floor would collapse. They said they'd try to get her from the outside with a ladder. James's hands were shaking now, but I could hear her screaming, crying for Mom, crying for me, so I went in. Williams's eyes widened slightly. You went into the burning house? I had to. She was 7 years old. She was terrified. The stairs were burning, but I made it up. Found her in her room, hiding under the bed. I grabbed her, started heading back. That's when the hallway ceiling collapsed. James touched his shoulder, as if remembering. Burning wood, drywall, insulation ... All fell on my back, pinned me down. Emily was underneath me, so she was okay. The firefighters pulled us out 30 seconds later. If I'd been 1 second slower, we both would have died. Williams was speechless. I spent 8 months in the hospital, 15 surgeries, skin grafts, physical therapy. The doctors said I'd never do physical activities again. Said my back would never be the same, that I should avoid anything strenuous. James looked up at Williams for the first time. But I didn't come here to make excuses, Sergeant. I came here to prove I could do it anyway. Williams sat forward. Mitchell, why didn't you tell anyone about this? Because I didn't want special treatment. Didn't want pity. Didn't want anyone to go easy on me. But son, if we had known, that's exactly why I didn't tell you. James stood up. Permission to return to the barracks, Sergeant? Williams stared at him for a long moment. Then he stood, extended his hand. Permission granted, Private. They shook hands. As James reached the door, Williams called out, Mitchell? Yes, Sergeant? Your sister. She okay? James allowed himself a small smile. The first one Williams had ever seen. She's a firefighter now. Colorado Springs Fire Department. Williams nodded slowly. Of course she is. When James returned to the barracks that night, the atmosphere was different. The usual jokes, the roughhousing, the loud banter. All of it was gone. Guys were sitting on their bunks, quiet, thinking. When James walked in, everyone looked at him. Not with mockery, not with pity, with respect. Corporal Davis stood up, walked over to him. For a moment, James tensed, expecting another confrontation. But Davis just stood there, couldn't meet his eyes. Mitchell, he trailed off. Didn't know what to say? Finally, he managed. I'm sorry. James nodded. Okay. No, man. I'm serious. I've been a complete asshole to you. Yeah, you have. Davis winced at the directness. I thought you were weak. I thought you couldn't hack it. I thought ... double quotes. You thought wrong? The two stood there for a moment. Then Davis extended his hand. Can we start over? James looked at the hand, then at Davis's face. Finally, he shook it. Yeah, we can start over. The tension in the room released. Guys went back to their bunks. But Private Chun walked over. Mitchell, that thing you said the other night about dealing with worse, you meant the fire? Yeah. Why didn't you just tell us that from the beginning? Would have shut everyone up. James shrugged. Because I didn't come here to tell war stories about my past. I came here to make new ones. Chun smiled, clapped him on the shoulder. You're all right, Mitchell. You're all right. The next morning at PT, something incredible happened. James was struggling with pull-ups. Could barely do 5. Davis walked over, stood next to him. You're pulling with your arms. Use your back more. James looked at him, confused. I'm serious. Watch. Davis demonstrated the proper form. Your back muscles are stronger than your arms. Even with the, use them. James tried again. This time, he got 7 pull-ups. There you go, see? It was the first time Davis had helped him with anything. It wouldn't be the last. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. The platoon started treating James differently. Not with pity, not with kid gloves, with genuine respect. During ruck marches, when James was falling behind, guys would slow down. Come on, Mitchell. Keep pace with us. During combat training, they paired him with people his own size instead of guys like Davis. Work on your technique first. Strength comes later. During classroom sessions on military history, James spoke up for the first time. They were discussing the concept of courage under fire. The instructor asked, "What does it mean to be brave?" James raised his hand. The instructor looked surprised. Yes, Private Mitchell? I think being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you're terrified. The room went quiet. It's about running toward the thing that scares you instead of away from it. The instructor nodded slowly. That's exactly right, Private. After class, several guys came up to him. Dude, that was deep. You should talk more often, man. You got good insights. James just shrugged. But maybe, for the first time, he felt like he belonged. Week 9. Graduation was approaching. The platoon was doing their final evaluations. Final PT test. Final ruck march. Final everything. James passed everything. Not with flying colors. Not in the top 10, but he passed. And for someone the doctor said would never do physical activity again, that was a miracle. The night before graduation, the platoon was sitting around, talking about where they'd be stationed. Davis turned to James. "Where are you hoping to go?" "Wherever they need me." "Come on, man. You gotta have a preference." "Infantry? Artillery? What?" "I just want to serve. Don't really care how." One of the other guys, a recruit named Johnson, spoke up. "Mitchell, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why the Army? You could have done anything. Could have used your story to get into college, get scholarships." "Why this?" James thought about it. "Because when I was lying on that floor, earning with my sister under me, I realized something." "What's that?" "That there are people who run away from danger, and there are people who run toward it. And I decided that day that I wanted to be the second kind of person. My whole life." The barracks was silent. Finally, Private Chun spoke. "Man, we really had you all wrong." James smiled. "Yeah, you did." Graduation day. Sergeant Williams stood at the podium, giving his final speech to the platoon. "You came here as boys. You're leaving as soldiers. Some of you I knew would make it from day one. Others, I had my doubts." He looked directly at James. "But I learned something these past 10 weeks. Strength isn't about how much you can lift. It's about how much you can endure. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about facing your fears and pushing through them anyway. And heart? Heart is doing the right thing even when no one's watching. Even when it's hard. Even when every part of you wants to quit. This platoon has all of that. And I'm proud of every single one of you." After the ceremony, families came to congratulate their soldiers. James's parents were there, and so was someone else. A young woman in a firefighter's uniform. Emily. She ran up and hugged him. He hugged her back. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "I learned from the best," he whispered back. Sergeant Williams watched from a distance, nodded to himself. Then Corporal Davis walked over to James. "Hey, I just wanted to say you inspired me, man." "How's that?" "I requested a transfer. Going to try out for Ranger School." James's eyebrows shot up. "That's intense." "Yeah, well, if you can push through everything you've been through, I can push through a little extra training." They shook hands. "Good luck, Davis." "You too, Mitchell. Stay strong." James Mitchell was deployed to Afghanistan in 2004. He served 2 tours, 14 months each. His platoon was stationed in Kandahar province, high combat zone, and he became known for something. Whenever there was danger, whenever there was a risk, whenever someone had to volunteer for the worst assignments, James always stepped up. Clearing buildings in hostile territory, James volunteered. Point man on patrol through IED-heavy roads, James volunteered. Rescue mission for wounded soldiers pinned down by enemy fire, James volunteered. His commanding officer, Captain Reynolds, pulled him aside after one particularly dangerous mission. "Mitchell, you got a death wish or something?" "No, sir." "Then why do you keep volunteering for the worst jobs?" James thought about it. "Because I know what it's like to need someone to run into the fire when everyone else runs out. And I decided a long time ago that I'd be that person." Every time, Reynolds studied him. "You're either the bravest soldier I've ever met, or the craziest." James smiled. "Maybe both, sir." In 2005, James's platoon was ambushed during a routine patrol. 3 soldiers were wounded, pinned down by enemy fire. The platoon was taking heavy casualties. They needed to retreat. But that would mean leaving the wounded behind. Captain Reynolds was on the radio, trying to call in air support. James didn't wait. He grabbed a medical kit and ran toward the wounded. "Mitchell, get back here. That's an order." But James kept running. through gunfire, through explosions, through hell. He reached the first wounded soldier, a kid named Martinez, shot in the leg. "I got you, Martinez, I got you." He dragged him to cover, went back for the second, then the third. By the time he got all three to safety, he'd been grazed by 2 bullets, one across his arm, one across his ribs. But all 3 wounded soldiers survived. James received the Army Commendation Medal for that action. When they pinned it on his chest, Captain Reynolds said, "Private First Class Mitchell exemplifies everything it means to be a soldier. Courage, sacrifice, brotherhood." He ran into the fire when everyone else ran out. And that's what heroes do. James served until 2007. By the end of his service, the guys in his unit had a nickname for him, the Quiet Lion, because he never bragged, never boasted, never talked about his scars or his medals or his actions. But everyone knew. When things got bad, when the situation was impossible, when hope seemed lost, James Mitchell would step up every single time. Today, James Mitchell is 41 years old. He lives in Colorado Springs with his wife, Sarah, and their 3 children. He works as a volunteer firefighter. Because, of course, he does. His sister Emily, still with the fire department. They work together sometimes. And when kids at the fire station ask about the scars on his back, he tells them the truth. "I got these running into a burning building to save my little sister. And if I had to do it again, I wouldn't change a thing." The guys from his old platoon still keep in touch. Every year, they have a reunion. And every year, someone tells the story of the locker room, the day they realized that the quietest person in the room was the one who had been through the most. The day they learned that true strength has nothing to do with muscles, and everything to do with heart. James Mitchell never asked for recognition, never wanted a medal for the fire, never bragged about his service. But the people who know him, they'll never forget, because he taught them something. That courage isn't loud, it's quiet. It's running toward the fire when everyone else runs away. It's pushing through pain when every part of you wants to quit. It's standing up even when the world knocks you down. That's courage, and that's James Mitchell, the soldier they called weak until they learned the truth. This is the Lost Diary, where we tell the stories history forgot, the heroes who never asked for the spotlight, a courage that goes unspoken. If this story moved you, subscribe, because there are thousands more just like it, waiting to be told. See you in the next one.